Hey everybody, it's Anthony and Tucker with Land Title.
Welcome, everyone. We got an awesome market update for the month of May 2024 for Boulder County. Let's go ahead and dive right in.
Okay, so for all of you lenders out there, there's some exciting stuff happening, but it's very, very different across the detached and the attached market. So inventory is increasing, right? 34% up in Boulder County across all segments. But let's just dive into that a little bit. Tucker, what's going on in detached?
Yeah, so detached, we're seeing a lot of new inventory coming on the market. At the same time, we're also building on the existing inventory. So we're continuing to hit really good inventory numbers for the first time in really 12, almost 16, 18 months that we have nice inventory numbers. But when we look into our submarkets, they're not all created equal. Of course, Lafayette, Louisville, they're going to be a little bit hotter. They actually have a little bit more inventory than usual. But then we look at places like Erie. They got 155 homes on the for sale for just detached.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. But when we look at other places like Superior, they're still pretty low, and that they're finally picking up steam. So you expect to see more Superior moving, especially with more of the houses getting rebuilt from the Marshall fires. And then we jump up to Longmont. Boulder and Longmont have about similar inventories. Longmont even have a little bit more. But then we look at Boulder has 328 on the market. Longmont has 119. We can just see how much the submarkets are playing a huge difference between each other. And a lot of it, as you know, is based on price point and that monthly payment.
All right, so if we look at the attached side of this is crazy different, right?
Yeah.
So the city of Boulder has 223 units on the market just in attached, right? That's a ton of inventory. It's 100% more than this time last year. Erie, as they're building more, you're starting to see more attached townhouse kind of inventory out there. 131% increase in that kind of inventory out there. So they're not selling as well as maybe they were a year ago. And then you get into places like Longmont, and it's almost flat. So yeah, it's a more affordable product. That's a more affordable part of the market. That's a great sign. So you really need to understand what's going on and the difference between those when you're working with those buyers out there and they're thinking attached. There might be certain places in the market where there's a ton of opportunity.
Yep. And that opportunity would be Boulder.
Totally.
Just because we have so much sitting on the market.
Yeah, I think right now might be the one time where you can be like, wow, Boulder actually has a bunch of opportunity, which is not usually the case. So I like that.
And especially the higher in price point you go. Okay. Now, if we're looking over at our month supply of inventory, we've crept up to 3.39, so almost 3.4 months supply of inventory. We're really creeping up to some of the highest levels of month supply of inventory we've seen in 4 years, 5 years now.
Yeah, at least 5 years. It's
yeah.
Crazy.
And so this is kind of where we're at. And this is because, as you know, we're having up and down in buyer demand. But let's look at our submarkets. You can really see, once again, it's by price point. Boulder County is leading, the highest one here
City
at 4.
Boulder,
City is at 4.74. And then that's, it's a small month over month increase, but year over year, we're up 55% roughly. And then we go down to Superior. They've creeping up to their, 122% over last year in their month supply of inventory. Niwot's always tough because of that size of inventory. But then we look at Erie, they're still under 3 months. Louisville, 3 months. Longmont, under 3 months. So we can really see Lafayette, same thing.
I mean, some of those markets feel like buyer's markets, but like you get out to Lafayette, it probably still feels a lot like a seller's market in many ways.
Yeah, Lafayette and Louisville are always tight on inventory. No surprise there.
Yeah, but then, so let's look how fast it's going.
Yeah, and so this is a big piece is, it says 33 days for the county as a whole, but it's different by the submarkets. Some areas are taking longer. Even Erie, Longmont, they're much higher.
Niwot, got a lot of inventory, right?
So, they got a lot of inventory, and there's a lot available. Boulder, we're still at 33 and a half days. Some things just move faster, other things move slower. But that's where we can really see. Look at Superior. They've all gone all the way down to 13 days on market.
You got 4 months of inventory, but they're taking 13 days to come off. So you know what that tells me? What it really tells me is that buyers want something that's perfect, is buttoned up, and they're willing to pay for it if it's there and it's what they want. Now, Superior may not be quite as desirable as it used to be since the fires, but when you see that product you like, people are on it and they are looking, right? So if you have people that need to sell before they buy or something, they really need to go that extra mile to make sure those homes are presentable to market because they really have to be, or they're not selling.
Exactly. Yeah, it's those buttoned up properties, the ones that go for asking or close to asking in a week or two. Okay, for any of you working in the luxury market, this right now explains the whole story.
All right, move your head and let's show the sales first.
Other way.
It's all good. Okay. So those year-to-date sales, if you look at this, over 2.5 million sales have slowed quite a bit, right? We had a really good month of sales at 3+ million, so we almost caught up there. But the bulk of sales taking place, I mean, people are definitely taking loans on $2 to $2.5 million houses. They're taking loans on $1.5 to $2 million houses. Those home sales are really increasing from this time last year.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, last year was like rock bottom, though.
Yeah.
So from rock bottom, we're 57% up from 1.5 to 2 million. That means there are definitely loans to be had out there, and there are definitely borrowers out there working in those. They're not just cash. Contrary to popular belief, we do see loans on most properties still in Boulder County.
That's right. Especially even those, that mid luxury, that
Yeah.
1.5 to 2.5, still seeing a lot of leverage there. It's just making sure a lot of times those are trade ups, so they have to sell and then buy. So just kind of remember that, what other financing tools you have. But this is a big issue over here. So we just want to look at our month supply of inventory, or excuse me, our number of actives for the 3+ million. We have a glut of luxury on the market.
Yeah, 145 units, but only 11 sold last month, and this was a big sales month.
So if you have any clients who are thinking about a trade up of, I need to sell my house for around $1 million and I want to go buy that 2 or 3,
Exactly.
They're doing a big trade up. Great market for them to do that. It's just going to be sticky with getting their house sold first, what they need to do to it. So it's just another opportunity you can, really touch base with your trade up clients.
Okay, so let's talk opportunity for a second. I think this is a big one on opportunity. We have inventory that is tight, under 800,000, right? 2.5 months of inventory ish, maybe a little less than that. So it's going to feel like the best houses are still sort of contentious down there. And that means that they're moving fairly quick, under 30 days in most cases. So if you're working with buyers who want a buttoned up house, they want it for 600,000 or 700,000, they are going to have to compete, and that's okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's setting those expectations there. Once you get over $1 million, right? 3.5, 4 months, it's going to feel balanced, or it's going to feel like it's in the buyer's favor.
Ask for your 2-1 buy downs.
That's where you can get so much.
Seeing
right?
a ton of those.
You need the opportunity. You need that extra buying power. Get those rate buy downs in there, because people will negotiate them into sales. Now, there's some that are selling really fast. I mean, look at 2.5 to 3 million last month. We only had a few sell, but the ones that sold in 14 days. There's 13 months of inventory, right? So that doesn't make a ton of sense. But what it does tell me is that if they're buttoned up and nice and people are looking, people will make the move. But that's a tough price point. So as far as all of you are concerned, trade up opportunity is definitely there. I think that's important. The hardest part is getting them to stomach the interest rate change.
Yeah,
and you guys know that.
Yeah, but, and that's you. You guys have been talking about that for 2 years now.
Okay, so here's the other thing. This is average sales prices.
Yes, this is really interesting because it's changing quite a bit.
So this is detached. Tucker, tell us about this one.
So our detached, they're doing better than our attached. We're still up for the most part, month over month. Of course, your composition of sales matter. Year over year, we're also up for the most part. Couple areas like Lafayette and Superior, right around like 0 or negative just a little bit. Not really worried about that. That's more of a composition of sales kind of conversation, and people, not overpaying like they were,
Totally.
For those very few properties that are on the market, because we have more inventory now. And even with this more inventory, we're not seeing a falling out of prices. And we're really kind of seeing ourselves stabilize from our low point last year. So it's really nice that we're kind of getting into a little bit more of a balance and a little bit more. Yeah, our appreciation is a little bit flatter, but that's great for you on your side. That's great for your buyers. So they're getting really good value right now, even though rates are high. And what's really I like to look at is our TTM change. That's, last 12 months versus the previous 12 months. And almost all those numbers are positive except for Lafayette. And that's just kind of comparing the averages of averages.
Yeah, it also tells me we might still have a little bit of a hangover in Lafayette from the fires, right?
Yeah.
Because that market was so hot so quick in a time where it probably shouldn't have been. So we're kind of feeling a little of that stigma, and that's okay. But when we get over to the attached market is much softer, right?
Yes.
So I like the trailing 12-month percentage change number. Outside of the city of Boulder, which is very clearly selling a different product type than it was before, the rest of them they feel stagnant, right? Except if you look in Lafayette, you look out in Longmont, those markets, they're still seeing that good appreciation. I mean, I would say stabilized appreciation, right? 4% is really not bad. You definitely have some places like Louisville is dropping in price just a little bit, Superior 2% down. But as a whole, the market here in Boulder County, from looking at all these average sales prices, I would describe as stable, right? Because this is a great place. We all know that. You just need to reiterate that to your buyers, right?
And when looking at this, city of Boulder, we have a lot of really nice high-end attached product.
Yeah.
That's not normally extrapolated to places like Longmont. Superior actually has a lot of really nice attached coming on that's new. So that's probably where the feeling is, just that high sales price. 2% of that is a little different than a $400,000 condo versus a $900,000 or $800,000 attached product out in Superior, especially for that new stuff that's really nice downtown.
All right, so let's give you some optimism here.
Woohoo!
All right, so here's the optimistic side of things. Sold units in the detached market look way better than they did a year ago. Assume last year was baseline, things are getting better from there. Now, we're talking like 33% increase, right? It's behind your head.
There
33%
you
year to
go.
date change, right? So that's a really good sign. This has increased a lot, but the attached market has slowed a little bit and not very much, right?
No, not as much, but it's not seeing the same. And this is common in markets that we have increasing inventory and, more of a shift towards neutral to buyer favored. What this means is attached is normally less desirable than detached based on location. That's why you go attached or price point. But when you can find some deals out there in the detached, you can really help your clients go, hey, let's take a look at some detached options because it's really not that different right now for our higher end attached with those HOAs, those high HOAs.
With the insurance changes and everything, those
Yeah.
HOAs have gotten very high. So it really is just driving more people to detach, and you can
because
find
of that
it, right?
monthly, yeah, because of that monthly payment, you're finding it right now. So you'll find that you're going to be dealing probably less with attached and more detached, really, because of the value right now of what you can get. So that's something I would definitely steer your clients towards.
All right, so last slide here: percentage sales
I
price.
shouldn't use
to
that
list
word
price.
steer. I would say recommend.
Recommend.
Me.
Don't steer.
We don't
anyone
like
anyway.
steering's a bad word in our industry.
All right, so this one's about the same for both. So I put them all together here for you. But 99% listed sale price is on average. Keep in mind this is the peak of the year, right?
Yeah.
So now that you're hitting a buyer, you say, look, things are going to get better for you. They're going to get easier for you. There's going to be more inventory, and you're going to have more negotiating power the longer the year goes on. But before interest rates start to dip at all, we really need to get out there. And this can tell you why. Because even at the peak of the market this year, we actually were getting a little bit of a discount when we go out and write an offer. And this doesn't incorporate concessions, right? So
Yes.
if you guys are talking about concessions on top of that, they actually could go out there, find a house that they like. They could get a concession for that buy down of some kind, right? And they probably can still get it under contract because there's not as much competition. Lots of sellers, not very many buyers in this market, and that results in buyers getting a better deal.
Exactly. And that's where we can really see. And what's interesting about the numbers right now is, up until about 2 million, it's really strong. We're sitting over 98%. Then we go up to that 2 to 2.5 and it drops a bit, but then in the 2.5 to 3, it's up. And that's just because of the lack of sales. So one or two of them can really weigh it. But I'd say look at your super luxury, that 3 million plus. We're at 93%. And that's not including any of the concessions that normally come with those bigger deals.
Yeah.
So that's a great place for those trade ups to really, if they're in that market, there's a glut of inventory that needs to move. So there's a lot of opportunity for your high end trade ups.
All right. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. We're Anthony and Tucker with Land Title. Thanks for joining into our lender report. We'll see you next month.
Can't wait for it. Take care, everybody.
Bye.